Salutations, listeners.
Sivalas Valeo! Valar Magulis.
No. Thank you for tuning in. This is Three Men in a Basement, and we are the Ultra Crepidarians. My name is Colin McLeod.
Mark up!
Action Jackson.
And in this podcast, we review movies, and we deliver to you, the listener, an average schmuck's opinion about hidden gems in the wide world of cinema. In this show, we like to target movies that are not super-duper well-known. We also try to avoid the opposite of that, the ones that are so obscure that you couldn't get your hands on a copy, even if you tried.
Like a home video.
Yeah.
We're not doing Nana's home videos.
Which is a travesty, because they're
They're
delightful.
cinematic gold, honestly.
Yeah.
The ones that are not porn.
Right.
Are much better.
We don't talk about those ones, but
Those are the basement films. You don't look in that box.
We aim instead for that delightful sweet spot right in the middle. Movies that maybe you've heard of, maybe you saw a long time ago, you're wondering if they're worth another watch. We delve into those movies, watch them, review them on the podcast. This podcast, in fact.
This one? Right here?
One of them.
Wow.
Nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to put out the word.
You learn something new every day.
Wonderful.
And deliver to you our take on whether or not you need to track them down and watch them. In this, the 45th episode of the podcast,
45!
we did our very first listener-suggested movie.
Hey.
So as we mentioned in previous episodes, we decided to start doing this thing where every 5th episode, we are going to take a listener suggestion and review that. So if you want to be the next listener-suggested movie, you can get to the movie suggestion form on our website, tmaab.podbean.com. Fill out the form, submit as many movies as you want, and then we will choose randomly from those every 5th episode in perpetuity and review them and tell you how awful they are, and you are a terrible person for suggesting them.
We will berate you.
Yes.
Mercilessly.
Eviscerate.
What was our listener suggestion this week?
We did the quaint flick, Waking Ned Devine.
Waking Ned
Yeah.
Devine.
Sleepy little man.
He was a tired fella.
Yeah.
He was all tuckered out.
Whew.
Should have set an alarm.
And who suggested this movie to us?
Well, that would be Deanna Rittinger.
Hello.
I believe it's pronounced Deanna.
Oh, Deanna. My
Deanna.
apologies. Deanna.
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 There's an apostrophe in there, I'm sure.
Oh, okay.
Couple.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
Deanna.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, not Diouta.
Not Deanna.
No.
Deanna.
And this is a total stranger to us, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Never
we
met Deanna.
We don't know who this person is.
Nope.
I'm guessing 6'4", 6'5". I'm imagining like a male in his mid-20s.
Big beard.
Big beard, definitely.
Yeah.
Probably listening to this podcast as we speak,
I hope so.
which it's recorded, so it's always going to be as we speak if you're listening to it.
So you said 6 foot bearded?
6'4", 6'5",
Yeah.
maybe
6'4", 6'5".
Somewhere in there.
Big red beard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mushy.
like a linebacker
Yeah.
or a hockey player.
Probably. Could be some
Yeah.
of those things. Could be none of those things. I don't know.
Classic Deanna.
Yep.
Okay, Waking Ned Devine. Cherries?
So I had, I wouldn't call it a cherry. Maybe.
Strawberry?
Yeah, I had a little bit of strawberry. So I have seen this movie once, many, many years ago, and I only remembered really the premise and a few quirky lines. So I'm going to say it partially healed.
Fair.
We're going to leave that one in. We're going to leave that one in. Okay.
I was introduced to...
So is that too much? Is the Hyman joke too much?
It's never too late for a Hyman joke.
Thank you. Include some of that.
How about you, Jackson? Have you seen this movie before?
I was introduced to this movie by my in-laws.
All
Loved
of them?
Yeah, in fact, I think all of them were in the room when we watched it.
Classic.
Yeah. And I watched this movie so many times that I was fighting not to quote it as we were watching it.
Beautiful.
I watched this movie probably 2 or 3 times a year.
Wow.
I love this movie.
That's impressive.
Now, he doesn't spread it out throughout the year. There
No,
is
it's like-
one day,
Yeah.
it's like March 15th, where
Yeah.
he's just like, I'm going to watch Ned Devine from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed.
Yep.
And then he gets it all out of his system and then, waits till the following year.
Yeah.
So you're watching it tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Well, I'll probably turn it on as soon as I get home and just leave it running.
Good. I love it. How about you, Mr. Colin? How was your cherry?
Well, good and popped.
Wow.
Hey!
This was a new movie for me, which...
Very rare.
What's very rare, because like we said previously, you know, this is sort of a bias sample. We're hoping to work in other movies that I have not seen. However, the sort of irony of this is, like, I love watching movies, but I also, you know, I'm a collector, as you guys know. So I acquire a lot of movies that I haven't seen. I feel like that's not necessarily what everybody does with their movies. I actually purchased this movie and had it in my collection and had not watched it. And I was like, oh, that might be good for the podcast, blah, blah, blah. And then this suggestion came in, and when it came up for us to do it, I was like, we might have to get that movie. I might have to buy that. And I checked my collection. I was like, oh, no, I have it in there. I have it in there. And I've been intentionally avoiding this because I felt like it would be good for the podcast. So I've had this movie in my possession for more than a minute and have been waiting
That's
in the
perfect.
wings.
Perfect. All right. Can we kind of talk about some of the stats here, maybe?
What do we got? Waking Ned Devine, 1998 movie. That was, you know, I mean, NSYNC was big.
Yeah.
Backstreet Boys and NSYNC were big, and this movie...
it really played into that.
Yeah, it featured them heavily.
Yeah.
Except the parts where it didn't.
Yeah, which is
Rated,
all of them.
Which is all rated PG. I would agree with that. I would agree with that. I feel like it's not a kid's movie, but there is nothing in this movie that I would find objectionable for children. It's kind of an adult concept, but not in like a racy or morally objectionable way.
No, it's life. It's life concepts. It's facts of life.
Yeah. Very, very different movie than Whale Rider, but similar in that, like, it's not for kids, but it's not for kids.
I mean, yeah.
You're totally right there.
Change the theme of this, it very much could have been a focus on the family film.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
An hour and 31 minutes. This was a tight 90. Did you feel it?
Absolutely, yeah.
It's perfect, I thought.
See, I'm gonna dissent a little bit. I felt like the pacing of this movie is a little slow.
It is.
I mean, the people of this movie are a little slow.
Yeah. I think that's like, you know, in some ways, I think, getting in a little bit of our stuff here, but like, in some ways, I think that sort of nicely captured the spirit of the setting.
Yeah.
But at the same time, for the viewer, especially the sort of novice viewer, it goes along at just under the pace I think I would expect a typical movie to go along. So it felt a little bit long, but not like, oh my god, when is this going to end kind of long.
I would push back on that if I had a valid argument, but I don't, so I will accept it reluctantly.
I got no room for any fight. But I agree with that. I agree.
Let's see, our genres here. Okay, I don't know if IMDb underwent like a recent change in terms of their genres or something like that.
I've never seen this tag before.
I've never seen any of these, except for comedy. I've seen comedy, which is...
Yeah.
That's the laughy one, right?
Yeah,
but
Yeah.
that's the giggly one.
That's the... Yeah, okay.
But have you heard of high concept comedy?
Never.
Not.
Never
like,
once.
I'm not saying it's a bad tag, but like that's not a... To me, that's not like a genre. That's like a subgenre, maybe, or like sub-sub.
Well, then let me throw another tag at you. How about quirky comedy?
I can see why it would be a tag, but I've never seen it before.
Well, surely you've heard of... Well, actually, I have heard of this one.
Dark comedy.
Dark comedy.
Dark comedy, yeah. It's not very...
That's
not a dark comedy, in my opinion.
Well...
Just because the concept... Why don't you read the description and we'll debate the...
Okay. All right. When a lottery winner dies of shock, his fellow townsfolk attempt to claim the money. So,
Dude, read Descript. He's getting better every day.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Every day.
Thanks. I put on my A.5 voice, which is slightly higher than an A, but not quite a full letter above A.
Yeah, no, you never go a letter above A.
No, there's a reason.
Yeah, no, there's
a reason.
Oof.
Ask Sean Penn about that one.
I know. You're the last person who uttered a letter above A. You ever heard of the Dark Ages? Yep.
Yeah. So I do think it is in the synopsis that this is a comedy that revolves around a lottery winner dying. So, ergo dark comedy.
I would say it is a comedy that revolves around the premise of a dark subject, but it is not a dark comedy.
You know what
Yeah,
that sounds like to me?
and-
That sounds quirky.
And
That sounds like a quirky comedy to me.
I'm going to build on what Jackson said, and I'm going to say I agree because they don't dwell on or explore too heavily the darker aspects of death, just because it deals with a heavy concept, because it's glossed over so much.
Would you say a high concept?
I didn't see anybody get high in the movie, so, I mean...
Fair enough.
Yeah, no, I mean, there was no Dave Chappelle half-baked
No.
type situation going on. Yeah, no, I would say because they didn't dwell on that aspect of it, I would not call it a dark comedy. Whereas I feel like a lot of movies that carry that tag, the heavy piece that makes it dark, is explored in its entirety.
Did you see the show Weeds? I feel like that was clearly like a dark
Yes.
comedy.
Yeah.
You know, this is not that by any stretch.
Weeds also would have been a high concept.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is not quirky
No.
at all.
Is it plucky?
Could be.
Because I did write that about this movie.
When they pluck the weeds?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's the feathers?
Okay, so dark comedy, I object.
Yeah.
High concept comedy,
Don't know what it means.
yeah. That's a bit...
Yeah, I think
That's a bit...
It's a little too pretentious for even me.
I'm just saying, if you knew what they were referring to, then you'd probably agree, but maybe you just don't understand it.
Yeah, maybe it's too high of a concept.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything in this movie that I felt like was particularly like abstract or out of reach.
I think I'm just not high enough for the concept.
There you go.
We should have gotten high.
Dang it!
We would have gotten the concept. Guys, we're walking out of here without a concept.
All right.
It's not good.
Time to start over.
Who do we got in this movie?
Well, we do have some big. I don't know. Would you say huge for their face? Like they seem super familiar to me.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they have a lot of
Brand recognition.
Yeah.
One name jumps to the foreground for me, and that's David Kelly.
Yes.
You would know David Kelly. You've seen David Kelly. A couple things that he's been in. One of them was actually a movie that we've done. He was in Stardust.
Yes,
He was the guard at the wall.
Yes.
He was also Grandpa Joe in the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
The lazy layabout who didn't contribute to the family, even though he was very capable of getting up and getting a job.
Yep.
He left it all to Charlie's
No,
mother.
he decided to stay in bed even though his legs worked perfectly fucking fine. The self-righteous ass Grandpa Joe. The true villain of the story.
Oh, yeah. No, that's absolutely true. I mean, there are people over here like, Mike TV and, Veruca Salt. No. Grandpa Joe.
See, I like to say that Willy Wonka is one of my favorite villains. And people always look at me funny when I say that. I'm like, okay, fraudulent venture capitalist, indentured servitude, aka slavery, shoddy business practices, violations of food safety protocols, and child endangerment. All I'm saying is, the guy's a menace.
And he definitely discriminated by skin color.
Yeah.
Now, he's discriminated between orange and everybody else.
Yeah.
But discrimination is discrimination,
Yeah.
right?
You cannot discriminate against orange people.
Report that guy to the labor board.
Yeah. Also, I guarantee he doesn't pay taxes.
I don't think he pays at all.
Taxes. Who else we got?
We also got Ian Bannen in this movie, and Ian Bannen, I never, ever in a million years would have been able to give you his name, but it took me about 15 minutes to recognize where I knew him from. He is from the movie Braveheart.
Yes. Yes.
I actually always assumed it was the previous Robert Bruce, but he's actually credited just as Leper. So Robert the Bruce in Braveheart is like talking to a guy who doesn't show his face ever, and he's got leprosy, and he's covered in boils, and no, it is his father. He actually does say father in the movie, now that I think about it. But he's credited as Leper, which is weird. But yeah, he is the previous Robert Bruce who is pretending that he's abroad on business.
Yeah.
And so, but again, he's not covered in boils in this movie, and he's actually like, he's got a remarkably healthy complexion. Who else we got?
We got Fionnula Flanagan. I don't know if I pronounced that
Yeah.
properly. She has a very recognizable face.
Yeah.
But honestly, I have a hard time identifying what I recognize her most from. As I'm flipping through her filmography, though.
For me, she's the mom in Four Brothers.
Right.
That gets
Yeah,
killed
that's
and
what I
then
was gonna
brings
say.
them all together. Yeah.
Yep. But she's a very kind of like warm, inviting aura, I guess. I don't know how to describe what I mean, but she just comes across as trustworthy.
I know her from Defiance. She plays Nikki. But again, I know that I've seen her face in other things, but I could not tell you what they were. But you're right. She's just kind of a warm little old lady.
Right.
If she brought you tea and biscuits, there would be less than a 5% chance that they're poisoned.
Yeah.
Which I like that.
I'll take those odds.
I like them odds, yeah. That's I think that's pretty much it for recognizable faces. Anybody else you guys want to throw out?
I would say one more, James Nesbitt.
Pig Flynn?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
He is the son of the woman who just loves sucking down Darjeelings, that one-armed woman with the big plastic dome.
I am Mrs. Nesbitt.
Yes.
But he was Beaufort in The Hobbit, Unexpected Journey.
Which makes him kind of hard to recognize because he was under, let's say, heavy prosthetics.
Yeah. The voice is kind of what gives it away. But again, I mean, we're talking Ned Devine came out in 98, Hobbit came out in 2012. So that's quite a span of time.
Wow, The Hobbit came out over 10 years ago?
Yeah.
I'm not okay with that.
It breaks your brain a little bit.
To be fair, I
doesn't it?
wasn't okay with it coming out anyway, so.
We could talk about that for a while.
Oh, yeah. Let's Eddie in this pool for a minute.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much all of the big names.
Yep. I'd agree.
Yeah, I would say so.
Did anyone noteworthy direct this, or is this...
We got Kirk Jones directed and wrote this. I do not know who Kirk Jones is. Anybody else?
Nope.
Never heard the name before.
Oh, he directed Nanny McPhee.
Okay.
My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2, What to Expect When You're Expecting. Wow, so he's got some directing
got some big
chops.
numbers down there.
Yeah, he's no slouch. Sorry, Kirk Jones, that we don't know you, but come on the podcast and
We'll apologize to your face.
Yeah, pull up a seat, man.
Mark will apologize to your face.
I'll apologize to your ass because you'll be facing Mark. But
That's fair.
I guess I'll apologize to his shoulder?
yeah.
Perhaps a muffin top side?
Whoa,
saying.
you are not being kind to the physique of Kirk Jones.
I don't know if it has a muffin top. I'm just speculating.
Oh, you're covering all your bases.
Right.
That's fair.
Right. Covering all my tops. My muffins.
Well, the muffin top is the best part of the muffin, so really it's a compliment.
Yes, you're welcome.
It is objectively the best part.
You're welcome.
That's true. Okay, are we ready to wreck around?
Yes.
Wreck around, I wreck around.
Wreck around. Woo!
Okay. I absolutely recommend this movie. You know, I think you did mention the pacing. So if you're showing up for a Transformer, it's not that.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but like, it's so funny because in my head, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Like, both, like, it's a little slow paced. So if you're the kind of person who likes like Transformer type Michael Bay movies, like, and it was like, wow, Mark is really hitting the points.
Yes.
You can read my mind, guys.
We are vibing tonight. But yeah, no, this is feel good. I think personally at its best.
Oh, yeah.
It's witty. I just enjoyed it.
I have, do, and will recommend this movie. And I can't think of a group of people that I wouldn't recommend it to. I mean, maybe if I knew somebody that only ever watched one type of movie and that type of movie was anything other than this type of movie. But I don't like those people because they're shallow and small-minded.
Yeah, they're terrible people.
Yeah.
Just terrible people.
Who have we lost historically? We've lost big groups of people historically. So we're still whittling down the list.
See, we've lost entire nationalities,
States,
yep,
countries.
Yep. But this we're just chopping out the
The bad parts.
Separating the wheat from the chaff.
It's fine. It's fine. We'll move on. They won't send an email anyway because who knows? Maybe they can't.
They're going to beat us severely and we're going to chaff.
They're too small-minded to send an email.
They're still sending letters. All right.
My dearest Vivian, they insulted me on a podcast I don't listen to.
Eustace. So, yes, I said Eustace. Thank you. Colin, would you happen to recommend this movie?
I would recommend this movie. Similar caveats to you two. Like, if you struggle with movies that are low energy and slightly slower paced, maybe not for you. The only other group that I could think of that might struggle with this is like there are some people who get really frustrated or struggle with movies in which the characters are speaking with accents. And I love that this movie unapologetically uses a local Irish dialect or accent and didn't try to go for that like silly mid-Atlantic that, you know, everybody can understand you type stuff. But I do know that there is a contingent of people out there who get frustrated at that and they're like, I'm not going to watch a movie when I can't understand people.
Yeah,
and they'll turn it off.
Like if you have severe auditory processing issues, still watch it, but turn on the subtitles.
Yeah.
In my experience, the people who wouldn't watch it because of the accents are also the people who hate movies with subtitles.
I watch everything with subtitles.
Look, if you're the kind of person that Colin seems to be referring to now, and you're listening, just stop. There's nothing for you here.
Yeah.
I mean, leave the podcast running.
Well, right.
Because we've established we get a lot of money.
We need to get ours, but you don't need anything.
No.
So, bye.
Are
Bye,
we-
Felicia.
Bye, Felicia. Are we learned with the Rex?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Are we moving on?
Are we ready to move on to... Blah, 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 blah.
Ba, 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 ba.
That is spoiler territory.
We're in spoilers. So if you don't want the movie spoiled,
Shut it off!
leave the podcast running. As
Turn
we
it down, though.
instructed.
Turn the
it down.
volume
down.
Yeah. Don't listen, but leave the podcast running.
And then reboot it and listen to it again.
Yeah. And again and again and
Yeah,
again.
just delete it off of your device so that you can actively re-download.
Yeah, it's better the second time if you go the full step.
Right.
And then if you do it a third time, it's even better. It's incremental.
Yes, then just send us money.
Yeah.
Yeah, the second time hurts a little bit, and the third time you kind of get used to it. And you start to like the sore.
Yeah, you're acclimated at that point.
Yeah, and then
You've dialed in.
and then you could just keep going again and again. But careful, it might give you a heart attack eventually.
It's true.
Yeah,
You'll go blind if you do it too much.
If you don't chafe,
Yeah.
first.
I chafe. But so how does this movie start?
Okay, one thing that is a little curious about this movie is it starts with a voiceover, and they never revisit the voiceover. So, I'm just gonna go spoilers hard spoilers.
I knew the second we got past spoilers that was gonna be the first thing.
That was
came up.
curious. It started kind of like the movie Ted, right? Where Patrick Stewart did this voiceover, or maybe in Stardust, Ian McKellen. Ian McKellen does the voiceover and sort of explains. But those voices always come back, especially at the very end, right? To sort of pepper in some, context and subtext and shit. This voice had this kind of funny, quirky intro, and then just fucked off and never touched the movie again.
Yep.
You know what it reminded me of? The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? That intro where it's just kind of setting up the universe, and then it's,
Yeah, but even with Hitchhiker, he pops in periodically throughout the movie.
That's fair. That's fair.
No, this one sets the stage and then just pieces out.
Yeah, very curious. Which actually, makes me wonder if there is a cut of this movie where that voice didn't piece out. Mm-hmm. Was that meant to be something that was a mainstay, and then they just decided not to, but they're but the intro's really good. Let's just leave that part.
But it also makes me question, is there a cut of this movie with no voiceover at all?
Probably.
I'm sure.
Especially if you got a scratch DVD.
Yeah.
And you have to start it a minute and a half in.
Yeah.
That version.
No, I've been there.
Yeah, that doesn't have the intro.
That would suck.
So we got an intro talking about the lottery, talking about how, it changes people's lives. And then does it, at that point?
It just fades into Jackie and Annie's house.
Yeah. Our main character who's just sitting down, asking for an apple tart from his wife, who's in the kitchen doing whatever.
She's eating her apple tart.
Yeah, he's just watching the lottery, nothing crazy.
And he wants his apple tart.
Yeah, I want my apple tart.
Starts to pretend that he's winning the lottery, and his wife kind of runs in there, hands him his apple tart, and then he gets all happy and giddy, and she goes, "How much do we win?" And he says, "Nothing."
Yep.
I got my apple tart. Yep. I think this movie might be a little bit more. Well, I don't know. Maybe we can go beat for beat.
We say this every week.
Yeah, I know. Let's try and do broad strokes. So Jackie has a best friend played by David Kelly. His name is Michael O'Sullivan. And Michael O'Sullivan and Jackie O'Shea go way back. They've been friends for years. They are very, how would you describe them? Innocent and charming in a small town kind of way.
Yeah, they're chummy. Yeah. They've been best friends for presumably decades. And, they just kind of hang out and do things together. I mean, the whole village of Tullymore is basically a retirement home. Everybody in this village, with the exception of a select few, are retirees and octogenarians.
And very innocent.
Yeah.
Jackie's wife, Annie, at one point later in the movie describes Michael O'Sullivan as never having told a lie in his entire life. So sort of set the character stage, if you will. So yeah, they sort of march through their daily routine, which is not the most exciting day in the world.
Yeah, we spend
but it's very peaceful.
Yeah, we spend the first, I don't know, maybe half, or third of the movie just meeting the characters and getting enmeshed in their world, their day to day. This movie does a great job of popping around to different people doing various things, and you can just tell that you got chemistry between characters. This movie had chemistry between the whole town.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this before, the main protagonist of this movie is the village itself.
Yeah.
The protagonist.
Yeah, the protagonist of Waking Ned Devine is the village of Tullymore.
Yeah. It does, I would say, follow Jackie, but you're right in the sense that the village carries the narrative. And to your point, Mark, at the first sort of third of the movie, where we're introduced to the characters, following his lotto loss, Jackie says to Michael, they said in the newspaper that the winner of the lottery was from this county. And the county is very big, but there is one village in the county. And the village is ours, Tullymore, and it's only got, was it 59 people?
52.
52 people. That really narrows it down, and I know it's not you, and I know it's not me, and I know it's not my wife. So there's actually 49 people that we have to really be looking at.
Right.
And so they make it their business in the first third of the movie to figure out who won the lottery and is sort of slow playing their hand.
Yeah.
They're clearly, whoever won the lottery is not running down the street saying, I won, I won, I won, I won.
Their whole plan is to become best friends with whoever won the lottery so that they can share in the spoils.
Yeah, so they're going to the pub. They're buying pints for people. They do like a party where they serve everybody chicken, you know, like they're spending money trying to both look generous, but also to, like, you know, covertly find out who it was.
It's an investment.
And
let's be honest.
And
you got to spend money to make money.
And it's very clear that Jackie, while he may be a generous and benevolent person, obviously doesn't make a habit of going around town and buying pints for people and hosting dinner parties where everybody gets their own special chicken dinner and pouring shots of Irish whiskey on the weekends.
Yeah,
Like,
you kind of get the sense that, like, nobody in the town does this, kind of because nobody in the town has a lot of money.
right. Everybody here is living off of what they can.
Yeah, like, they're not destitute, but they're very careful with their
They
money.
live very humble, simple lives.
Yeah.
So everybody now sees Jackie throwing his weight around, and they're like, all right, we already know somebody from the village won.
Who's throwing around the money?
Hey, Jackie, did you win?
Yep.
And he's like, oh, no, if I had won, you'd be the first I'd share it with. You know,
Yeah, he's sort of planting that seed. He's like, no, but if I did, I would share it with my friends. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
And he tells, like, every single person that asks him if he won the lottery, he's like, no, but you'd be the first to share it if I had. It's like, yeah, that's a lie, Jackie. Mm-hmm. At one point, he buys Pig Finn a pint.
We got to talk about Pig Finn.
Yeah, and Pig Finn, he's like, you've never bought me a pint before. It's like, oh, sure I have. Yeah, loads of times. Absolutely.
So Finn has a pig farm, and he's called Pig Finn because he can't wash the smell off of him. And it's like a constant bit throughout the movie where, like, he just stinks of pig.
I feel like because we're discussing this, I will throw out one of my quotes right now because it doesn't belong to a part of the movie. It belongs to the entire movie. And the quote is, if it weren't for the pigs. And
Word for the pigs.
it's literally like everybody steers clear of him and sort of keeps him at a distance because of his smell. However, there is a very particular person who he wants to get close to and will get nowhere near him.
Yeah.
Which is a love interest.
Maggie.
Maggie O'Toole. I wonder if there's any relation to Peter O'Toole.
Ooh.
We didn't look into that too closely, but,
No.
you know, Irish,
Yeah.
O'Toole.
There's only a few Irish people out there.
There's
Yeah.
like 6 or 7 of them, and,
It's
I,
a
and I
really
know
small
3.
place.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a great, like, through line throughout the movie. And Finn is, like, genuinely, like, a good guy.
Yeah.
You know?
He's a very likable person.
And that's the worst part about that relationship, or lack thereof, is she is so explicit about, I would love you, I would marry you, I would cherish you.
I would marry you tomorrow if it weren't for the pigs.
If it weren't for the pigs.
If it weren't for the pig.
She's literally saying, I want to be your wife, but I can't because you smell. Like,
You smell so bad.
brutal.
Oh my god, there's so many, like, awesome bits in here where, like, Finn gets a hold of these, like, fancy soaps, you know? I think Jackie gives him some soaps, you know, just, like, different fruits. And he's, like, trying them on, and, like, there's, like, a scene where he gets close to Maggie, Finn does, and she's, like, smelling some of, like, the fruits, and he's, like, gets smiling bigger and bigger, you know, because she's getting closer and closer, you know? And then just all of a sudden she's like, oh,
Nope. Still there.
there it is. And then, like, she just immediately turns and walks away. It's heartbreaking, you know? He's like, well, maybe I'll try the raspberries next time, you know?
It is just like, anytime those two are on screen together, it is just watching like a train wreck of dejection.
Yeah.
But their chemistry is good.
Yeah, like, and that's the thing that sucks, is they love each other and care for each other, but nope.
They're like
So-
swooning for one another across a brook at
Yeah.
one point.
Oh, yeah.
It's like,
It's very Hallmark in that moment. Yeah, one of
if it weren't for the pigs.
right. Since we're throwing out quotes, mine actually happens in the scene we're talking about. Jackie's gonna buy Pig Finn a pint, and Michael's gonna buy Pig Finn a packet of his favorite Mexican crisps.
yes.
And Pat Mulligan is sitting at the bar, and he says, "Your old friend, you must be needing an operation on your old nose. Have you smelled Pig Finn lately?" And Jackie says, "I have, and I must say he smells a mite better than your aftershave."
Oh, so good.
That, I think, would fall into the category of a sick burn.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sick burn.
Okay, so again, first third of the movie, we're meeting everyone. We're going on this kind of adventure, trying to find out who won the lottery. And eventually they have this big party, this chicken party. And
Chicken party!
And they really, chicken party, new band name?
Yes.
Chicken party! Yeah, actually, that is a pretty good band
Yeah.
name.
Chicken party.
That is just that is a very generic term, but that is a good band name.
That's a solid band.
Chicken
name.
Party.
I would go see a band called Chicken Party.
It piques my interest.
Yep.
Chicken
I think
Party.
you mean it beaks your interest.
Hey!
You should see his face right now.
Yeah.
Oh, because they're chickens.
You got it. You
And
got
they-
it. You got it.
Yeah, okay.
You got it. So,
So why is a chicken so funny?
Yes.
Because
Oh, boy.
I like that too.
Oh, boy.
I like that too. I'm going to use that word. Okay, so chicken party. They notice that there's a piece of chicken left. There's a breast left. Jackie's talking to his wife, and she tells him that she made exactly the right number of chicken breasts. So she knows for sure that someone wasn't there, and they kind of go through the list for a second. They realize it's Ned Devine.
Yeah, and so in an attempt to butter him up as they did with the rest of the village, because they don't know who won the money, Jackie goes over to Ned's house in the middle of fucking hurricanes and finds Ned in his room, clinically dead.
yes, not
And-
just mostly.
Oh, no.
He was all the way dead.
There's a big difference between mostly dead and all dead.
To blave.
Beautiful.
And Ned is sitting there in front of the television. The television is on, and it's running static, and he is holding a lottery ticket in his hand.
With a beautiful, just stupid grin, petrified on his face.
And I would say, end of Act 1.
Yeah.
Like-
yeah. Imagine the most joy you could see on a human face. That's what you see on Ned's dead face.
His eyes are open and still twinkling.
And staring up at the ceiling.
And Act 2 basically involves Jackie and Michael pretending to be Ned in order to collect the winnings. So Jackie goes home to his wife. They're in bed, and, he's saying, it was terrible, Ned died, and it's awful, and blah, blah, blah. And then he falls asleep and has a dream in which he's in a boat with Ned, and Ned is eating chicken.
Offers him some chicken.
Yeah, and offers him some chicken and keeps insisting, please have some chicken. It's really delicious. To which he says, no, I'm full. No, I'm full. And he wakes up and he takes that as a sign from Ned, who visited him in a dream, and told him very explicitly, I want you to have some of my chicken, and by chicken, I mean lottery winnings.
Please fake my death and take all the money. Or
That's-
not fake my death.
Not fake my death. He's mucho dead. But
Yeah.
the point stands. Please pretend to be me and collect my winnings. And so Jackie and Michael, but let's say Jackie, hatches this plan to pretend
He's
to
the
be Ned.
mastermind.
He is, yeah. Some might say the only mind.
Yeah.
Michael is very simple in a kind person kind of way, right? Like, there are some people who are just so kind. They're very gullible, easy to take advantage of.
Easy to manipulate.
Yeah.
Naive.
Naive is probably the word we're really beating around. Is he's naive, but not because he's stupid.
Not in
but
an
because,
ignorant or dumb way.
Because he's kind.
He just sees all of the best in everything.
Yep, and he happens to be surrounded by good people who are just looking out for him.
Yeah, he really has had, he's had no reason in his life to not act this way, right? Like, he's never, it's like an animal that doesn't fear, a new animal in their environment because they have no natural predators.
Like, if you were to go to a foreign country and the native wildlife just comes running up to you and it's just like, hi, what's your name? It's like, oh, you've never met people before. Heads up, they suck.
People be the worst.
Yeah.
But not in this village.
No.
They are very sweet.
Initially, Jackie's plan is that he will be Ned because he seems to have no qualms about, spinning a yarn. And there's no way that Michael could possibly do it because, like we mentioned, Michael's never lied once in his life.
Well, and Jackie's a natural-born storyteller.
Yep. So they've got this kind of plan more or less hatched. They decide to go skinny dipping one day.
They call the lottery.
Yes, yeah, they call the lottery. They set events in motion.
Yep, they
You know.
report the winnings and stake their claim and wait for the money to fall.
Yep, and the people that run the lottery are going to be sending someone to the town to both handle the paperwork, but also kind of like verify the details.
Which, can we talk about that for 1 second?
It's important.
The guy... I'm sorry. This I'm not going to knock this movie for this, but it did catch my attention that the guy flew in on a fucking helicopter, got dropped off in the middle of a road, and then got into a fucking Ford Escort to go to the village. And it's like, I am sorry, but those two things do not exist in the same universe. You fly in on a helicopter, you drive around in something that is not a Ford Escort.
Or you just fly it to the village.
Yeah!
Yeah, I don't know why they dropped him off outside of the village.
Well, because this scene needed to happen.
I believe you're right.
Because the director said so.
Because Deus Ex Machina.
Yes. Anyway, Michael and Jackie they're just going for a dip real quick. A car pulls up and is...
It's Jim Kelly from the Lotto.
And they were not prepared for him. And unfortunately, Jackie's the one that talks to him first. So Jackie's out. Jackie cannot pretend to be Ned.
And Michael fucking hides. He scrambles up behind a rock and he's like, shit.
Cowards.
Yes. Cowards. Yes.
He's like really hard puffing on a cigarette like, oh my God, this is terrifying.
Yep. So the lottery man needs to find out where Ned lives. So Jackie volunteers to show him the way. So he hops in the car with the lottery man. They take off down the road and Michael flips out, realizes what he needs to do in order to keep everything on track.
He tries to get dressed real quick,
Gives
but
up.
he can't put the pants on in time, so he just jumps on the bike.
That scene is so good because it's shot from like 50 feet away. And so you just see this like old frail man trying to put on pants and then just like giving up and like walking over to the motorcycle. And it's like, this man is buck naked.
Oh, I don't know why this, in my opinion, makes it funnier, but he does have on his, like, dress socks and brogues.
Yeah.
Yes. And he gets his helmet.
And his helmet. So his helmet, these Argyle-style dress socks, brogues, and...
He's not covered from head to toe, but his head and toes are covered.
Yes. He is a naked human sandwich of clothing.
All 80 pounds of him.
Oh my God, that we do need to talk about that.
He's so tiny.
If negative weight existed, I know scientists have been searching for that particle with negative mass.
Yeah.
This guy, you should start with him.
Yeah.
Because this guy is...
Just call David Kelly.
Oh my God. If you put a string around him, you could fly him like a kite.
Yeah.
Yep.
But, in like, I don't know, in like a cute old man way.
Yeah.
Like, in like this, he's all skin and bones.
I would love for David Kelly to be my grandpa. I think that would be amazing.
Oh, it'd be fantastic.
So what follows is almost like a Ferris Bueller scene where Jackie is doing everything he can to stall the lottery man. He's giving him like fake directions. He's having him drive around in circles. And then Michael is just sitting on his little moped, just like going as fast as he can, trying to get to Ned's house so that he can then be Ned.
While his bare ass is vibrating on the seat and the
my
mud is caking up his back as he drives.
That was such a hilariously necessary detail. Like, we've all ridden bikes through mud.
Yeah.
Right? And that's exactly what happens. It's always like comically clear, right? It's not that your back gets splashed with mud. It's always like a fucking perfect line.
It's just a perfect
right
straight
up
line.
your spine. And it's like, I don't even know how that fucking happens, but sure as shit, here's Michael O'Sullivan just burning down the road at top speed, which means like 45 on that shitty little bike, and bare ass naked, and he's just got this strip of mud right up his back.
Such a good touch.
It is amazing.
So he's able to sneak in the back door of Ned's house and answer the door to Jim and Jackie in nothing but a towel under the guise of he was in the bath. He invites Jim in to discuss the lotto winnings, and as he turns around, you see the stripe of mud on his back, and it just kind of like punches that joke one more time.
It's so funny.
And he's trying to get dressed, but Ned's clothes don't fit him because, as we've discussed, Michael's a waif. So Jackie gives Michael his clothes. So Jackie's now sitting in his skivvies in some sort of like lean-to on the outside of the house, listening through the window to the conversation as Jim and Michael, aka Ned, discuss the winnings of the lotto.
Yeah. It turns out that the winnings are substantially higher than what they had initially thought. They were
about 12 times as much as they expected.
Yeah, they were throwing around $500,000 or pounds or whatever. And it turns out that the winnings were actually more like $6.8 million.
I'll take
Big
that.
difference.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
Big difference.
Yep. There's this funny bit where Michael, again playing Ned, is just completely lost for words. Like he's just trying to like spit out as he's trying to process how much money this is.
Okay, so Jim needs a little bit more information, and one of the things that he needs is the actual ticket, which unfortunately Jackie left in a bag in the phone booth. So after Michael, pretending to be Ned, tells Jackie this, Jackie, in his skivvies, hops on the bike and tears off down the road naked, just like Michael was, to go and get the lotto tickets and the rest of the documents, which he had taken from Ned's house, including like birth certificate and social insurance card and all of this stuff under the pretext that they might need it, which they did, and then didn't have it.
And then all the while, Michael, playing Ned, is feigning intestinal distress to stall for time.
So things go pretty well. Jackie gets back. They get everything sorted out. Unfortunately, on the way out, Jim tells Michael, pretending to be Ned. We'll stop doing that now. Tells him, yeah, everything checks out. Did you sign the back of the lotto ticket? And Michael proudly declares, I sure did, because Ned had signed it before he died. And he says, that's great, that's no problem. The only thing is, because you signed it, I have to verify that that is in fact you, and you're not somebody trying to collect in the name of Ned. So I'll just come back to the village, and I'll ask around and do a little inquiry, and if everything checks out, I'll cut you a check. So now, I would say end of Act 2.
Yeah.
And Act 3 begins basically with the knowledge that the tax man are coming. Yep. This lotto guy is coming back, and he is going to inspect the town, make sure that Michael is really Ned. And
which he is not.
Which
Technically
not.
Yeah.
You're right. I mean, technically he is not Ned.
Unofficially he could be, but mostly he's not.
He's mostly not, as Mark so succinctly put it.
Most good.
And yeah, they're at a crossroads now, because they're either going to go to prison or somehow figure out a way to convince the town to play ball and tell this guy that Michael is in fact Ned.
Which just, it fits perfectly because like in Act 1 we meet almost everybody from the town, and so Act 3 just fits so nicely into it. Now we just need to convince all these characters and all these faces that we met earlier to be in on the bit. So Jackie calls a town meeting, fits the entire town in a closet.
Basically,
like,
yeah. 52 people in a farmhouse.
And owns what happened. He admits what he has done and kind of shares the plan. Like, hey, this guy's going to be coming into town. If we're all a part of this, if we all buy into it, if you all sign this piece of paper, then we'll carry this farce out. If even one person refuses to sign it, I will turn myself into the authorities because I would rather take the heat for my own misgivings than get everyone else in trouble. So yeah,
the whole town is pretty much on board from the get-go, because once they find out how much the ticket is worth, they realize that every single person in that village is going to get 130,000 pounds, which for these people is a massive pile of money.
And by these people, he means us.
Also,
that would be a lot of money for me.
I could take it.
I would take 130,000.
It would make a measurable difference in my quality of life. I can tell you that right now.
I would buy Pringles.
I would buy
so many Pringles.
Yeah,
2 tubes of Pringles.
2 tubes.
I would buy a truck and fill it with Pringles.
I would buy the Pringles out of Jackson's truck when he's selling them. Is that what you're going to do with the Pringles?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's going to be a Pringle vendor.
Yep.
Which is a respectable profession, Dad.
Yes.
I expressed my dreams of being a Pringle vendor to my father, and he was disapproving.
Yeah.
Which is...
I was laughed out of my...
Crushing, to say the least.
I was laughed out of my hometown.
Yeah.
Pringles! Nah, we're a Lay's family here. Yeah, I get that. I mean, I got the same talking to.
We're like lames.
Yeah!
That'll teach him!
You got him good.
Yeah,
eat that,
dude.
fucker.
Oh my
Need some ice for that burn?
Nope.
Okay, so we've I'm still on Pringles.
It's hard to get off them.
It is.
Because once you pop, you just can't stop.
The fun don't stop. No, it's true. Now I'm on tennis because Pringles cans kind of look like tennis ball holders.
You just got to put a little crunch in your lunch.
Yeah, I know. And now I'm onto ball holders, and
well, it's hard to get off that.
Yeah, I'm back to Granny's videotapes and
yeah.
Back
in the basement.
Memory. Trauma. Okay, so yes, the entire town pretty much agrees to this. There is one holdout who is the
Lizzie.
crotchety old bitch on the little
Rascal.
That's what the rascal scooter.
And she's referred to many times as a witch.
Yes, which is the PG version of saying bitch.
Yes.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It affects the plot, but it doesn't in the same way. Like, she's the last holdout, and I don't think she ever says it explicitly, but she says, like, she'll sign it on one condition, and then the next scene is Ned's proper funeral. So I think the takeaway was that I'll sign it if we show our respects to Ned.
Yes, which was not the case.
No, but they do a great job of getting him to the chapel.
Oh, no, I meant... That was not the...
No, she said she'll sign for $1 million.
Yeah, you're right. It was set up kind of like... she's like, I've got some conditions. And then it, like, cut to Ned's funeral, and you're like, oh, her conditions were...
was that not what it was?
Have a respectful sending off of this man, blah, blah, blah.
So, Dennis Fitzgerald, the pub owner, is talking with Jackie. Mm-hmm. And Pat Mulligan's standing there, Michael O'Sullivan's standing there, and they're all having this conversation, and Pat literally says to him, so she'll sign for $1 million. And he says, she'll sign for the same amount as everybody else, or she'll sign for nothing at all.
Okay. I had thought that was just a joke, but it does make more sense now given how she ends up carrying on. But anyway, they do have a funeral for Ned. It's this big, like, emotional moment. They're carrying him through town. They make it to the chapel. They get him in there.
It is a proper funeral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just as
and
they're...
very respectful.
Yeah.
Well...
They did actually...
They tried.
They did actually like this guy.
Yeah.
Like, he was very well liked in the town. I feel like a lot of movies that have this type of thing where, like, you're ripping off a dead person, it's like, it's almost invariably like, yeah, but that person was kind of an asshole, or that person was a bitch. You know, it's like, but in
the
this...
guy was a dick. No, Ned was beloved by this town.
He was really well liked.
Yep. But my hesitation is that, like, just as they're, like, about to, like, mention him at the funeral, the Lotto Man shows up in town
and sneezes in the back of the chapel, and everybody's sphincters tighten.
Yep. And it's great because they refer to him like, how are we going to know who the Lotto Man is? Well, he's got hay fever. He sneezes a lot. And everyone's just kind of like, right, that's going to be the thing that tips us off. Well, it does. It's great. They immediately pivot in the funeral to just talking about Michael's character.
So Michael is now Ned, and Ned is now Michael.
You can't see, but Jackson is pointing at an invisible coffin and presumably a very thin old man named David Kelly.
I could tell. Auditorily.
Yes.
It's
very clear. It comes over the audio greatly.
It's all in the wrist.
Yeah.
When you point down like that, it's in the wrist. And I'm like, oh yeah, he's pointing at a coffin. I know, because of the wrist angle.
Yep. That's coffin wrist right there.
Coffin wrist. Now that is
a band name.
That is a band name.
That's a fucking, like, black metal band.
Coffin wrist.
Yes. It's what you get from carrying too many caskets.
Oh, shit. That's exactly what it is. I killed so many motherfuckers. I got coffin wrists.
I buried so many men, I got coffin wrists just for fun.
That's the Paul Bear's cramps.
Just bearing Paul's.
You know, for the longest time, I thought it was palm bearers.
That, I don't know if it would count because it's 2 words, but I believe that might be considered an eggcorn. And eggcorns are a very specific... we may have talked about this on this show, but a very specific type of mistake made in language that was just described very recently, like in the early 2000s. And it is a mistake in language that a small group of people will make, but involve substitutions of existing words, phrases, clips, whatever. And the characteristic of an eggcorn is it has to kind of make sense.
Kinda
and the
like...
palm bearers does actually kind of make sense because you do sort of hold it with your palm.
Well, and it's kind of like for all intensive purposes.
Right. Yeah.
It's for all intents and purposes.
Right.
That would be another example of an eggcorn.
Right.
There's a lot of them.
Butt naked and buck naked.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like
And it's eponymous.
heartwarming.
Yes.
Eggcorn is...
Hippopotamus?
There are a lot of people who thought
Acorn
are eggcorns, which they are kind of egg-shaped.
Yeah.
Kind of makes sense.
Eggs with a little hat.
Chicken and the egg. Which came first?
The chicken.
The oak tree.
They're successful, and there's not really too many other beats.
There is one beat, and it is off a telephone box.
Ooh, off the beaten path, perhaps? Off the beaten
Yeah.
road? So, okay. Well, God, what was her name? The witch.
Lizzie.
Lizzie's decided to just burn everything down, and there's like a quick little like joke, like, the phone lines are down because of a storm. What is she gonna do? Like walk to Dublin? And then like the next scene, she's in her like little like scooter, and like it's a wide shot, and you just kind of like see her kind of like slowly going across the road. Her
little rascal dies.
It dies. She like gets out. It's similar to that scene with Michael where he's like naked, because it's such a wide shot. You just kind of like see her get out of her little walker, and she like kicks it a little bit, and then just like presumably curses and just keeps walking down the road.
Walking very healthily, might I add.
Yeah, she most certainly didn't need that scooter. But they make it a point to demonstrate that her character is the type of person that would very unnecessarily take that scooter from somebody else, or from, just like, I'm going to use this scooter, not because I need it, but because I don't feel like walking, and fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's terrible.
She's the worst.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that scene. The whole town is celebrating because they were successful. The check was cut. So they're all partying, and she's making her way like closer and closer. She makes it to the telephone booth, which is just kind of randomly on a cliffside, as telephone booths are.
Yeah.
I can verify this one.
That's a thing.
They do. That is a thing. It is very bizarre.
It reminded me, I don't know how many people are making this connection, but like that Austin Powers, there's that scene with a telephone booth on a cliff.
That one I can't verify, because that one, well, I suppose it's the joke is made in. I was going to say, because that one was in California, but I was like, oh yeah, no, they were supposed to be in England, because he makes the joke. What's funny is how the English countryside looks in no way like Southern California.
Yes. But no, I really enjoyed that scene because the tension is just building and building and building, and it's
and there's a fiddle playing in the background, and it's like climactic music. It's building, it's climbing.
The lottery man just happens to be driving by the road at one time. He sneezes, a delivery truck swerves off the road, hits the telephone booth. The witch goes flying off the cliff, and it's just like a satisfying just splat. You don't see anything, but like it hits the ground, doesn't bounce.
And right when the telephone booth hits the ground, the fiddle player's string breaks and everybody cheers.
God, it was beautiful.
It is kind of a comic fall.
Yeah.
Like the telephone booth, if a car really hit it would crumble, right?
Yeah.
Like, and if it went over the cliff, it would tip over the cliff. It
was slapstick.
Bounced. Yeah, it was almost slapstick. It was really borderline there. It like bounced off the car, goes soaring through the air,
as if it were impacted at like 100 miles an hour. And this road is probably
it was indestructible and made of rubber.
Yeah, and this car's probably going 20 kilometers per hour.
And it falls like 150 feet down to a pebbly beach and just crunch.
Yep.
It doesn't even break apart when it hits the ground.
No.
There's just no bounce.
And it's just like zero ambiguity about what the state of, like that woman probably looked like a puddle on the inside, like that woman did not make it out of it. I would think that is the one scene that would probably fit the dark comedy category. Because you are like, this person died, ha ha. Like, and
you celebrate her death.
You sort of do. Like, there's no redemption for her character. There's no like, oh, okay, she died. You maybe feel a little bit bad. It's like, no, like the filmmakers want you to go, hurrah, the witch is dead.
Yes.
Ding dong,
the witch is dead.
Ding dong.
Yep. And then basically roll credits, more or less.
Yeah, they have a couple conversations in the pub. They talk about...
there is one very important conversation.
There is one very, very big, important detail.
You talking Maggie and Finn?
Yeah. So throughout the movie, Pig Finn talks about how he's Morris's real father. Morris is Maggie's son. And at the end of the movie, Maggie sits down with Jackie, and she says, do you think Morris needs a father more than he needs 7 million pounds? And Jackie's like, the fuck are you talking about 7 million pounds? We all agreed on 130. And she reveals that old man Ned is Morris's real father.
They gotta be like 30 years apart.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Maggie is at best like late 20s, early 30s. And Ned is very clearly, they actually state in the movie that he's 66.
Did not look 66 to me.
No.
Ned Devine, you dirty dipper.
So Jackie says, take the whole thing. Take all 7 million and put it away for Morris. And she's like, no. That money would ruin him. Besides, 130,000 pounds is more than enough.
Which, it's really kind of like 260 because she got a share and so did Finn.
Yeah.
Right.
And presumably so did Morris.
Yeah, they never really covered that, but like, was there an age restriction here?
So is there 390,000 pounds between the three of them?
Yep. But yeah, the end to the Maggie Flynn thing, because they all came into this money. He doesn't need any pigs anymore, and now I can love you because, there's no pigs.
If it weren't for the pigs.
If it weren't for the pigs.
Oh, man. I really enjoyed this movie. This movie did such a good job of establishing, like, chemistry and relationships without telling you. Like at the funeral at the end of the movie, they give you a little bit of backstory about the nature of Jackie and Michael's relationship, but they didn't need to give you any backstory. This didn't need exposition.
No.
Just the way that the characters interacted with each other, you just felt like they've known each other forever. And
and
it was so good.
That was the beauty of it for me too, was like the interactions between the characters filled in all of the gaps that you might need. Because as you said, there's no backstory or epilogue needed. You don't need to set the stage for the relationship between these characters. So the way they interact tells you everything they need to know. Like, only best friends talk to each other that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes you want to just hang out with Jackie and Michael. They just have that camaraderie. What are some of the things that really jumped out at you guys?
Things that we liked?
Yeah.
We sort of already touched on this, but I think the movie was nicely partitioned. We don't typically, we
don't normally separate into different acts.
Yeah, we don't normally say, Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. It was very, very clear in this movie, the dividing lines. And it was very clear how the different acts played into one another and then culminated in the sort of result of the movie. It was very unapologetic in some surprising ways, like unapologetically killing an old woman.
Yeah.
And the fact that, there's two things sort of simultaneously happening that you are supposed to celebrate that you wouldn't typically do. You are celebrating the death of an old woman, which you kind of are. I mean, she was a bitch. But you are also celebrating the fact that this entire town got away with fraud.
Yeah.
And, ripped off the lotto for, $7 million. And it's I'm not saying I didn't celebrate, but I can say that, taking a step back, that is an unusual thing to set a movie. Usually that in a movie there is some kind of,
comeuppance?
Yeah, there's a trickery, and everybody will be fine, in a comedy, in a lighthearted comedy like this. Everybody's going to be fine. Nobody's going to go to jail, but, nobody's going to, get away with it. That's very unusual.
Everybody gets away with it.
Everybody gets away with it.
Well, and
the woman dies.
The flip side of that is Ned, given the description of his character and the way these characters talk about Ned, for a fact that he would have shared that money with everybody in town. Mm-hmm. Maybe not $130,000 apiece.
Yeah,
but he definitely would have shared it with everybody in town.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, that is another sort of, in addition to those other two things that are a bit off color, a bit unusual for this kind of movie, the fact that Ned was a nice guy and was well liked, I think, is something that is very unusual. This type of movie, I would expect that person to be bad.
As you say.
And you were supposed to be basically good, he's dead.
Yeah.
Take his money.
9 times out of 10, when you're ripping off a dead guy, the dead guy's a dick.
Yeah, that gives you license.
Yeah.
Right? And it's
you have full permission to take advantage of him if he's a dick.
Yeah, and in this movie, it's your license is bought by a dream.
A vision, a premonition.
And everybody's sort of understanding that Ned was a cool guy. He'd want us to have this.
Yeah.
Which may be legit. And I mean, it is legit enough. In
they're
the movie.
100% right that Ned would want them to have it if he couldn't.
Yeah, in the context of the movie, I suppose it is right, but it was unusual.
It's still illegal.
This movie was very plucky and very fun. I think the music helped out tremendously.
Oh, the music is beautiful.
There are some very nice and intense songs, like The Parting Glass is featured a couple times throughout, but heavily at the end. There's some intense fiddling, which also set the stage nicely, but the music I'm specifically referring to is very upbeat and plucky kind of...
Very bright.
Bright, yeah, folk music that's played throughout, and it helps keep the tone of the movie up, which is yet another reason why I would not classify this as a dark comedy, is dark comedies, when they're exploring the dark concept, bring you down with not just the music, but other things that sort of help you to understand that, this is dark.
Like you feel jaded, but it's like a sarcastic, jaded feeling, I think. At least that's what I'm taking from what you're saying with a classic kind of dark comedy, where you almost feel a little bit dirty.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
They are dealing with death. You know,
Yeah.
the whole movie centers around fraud and lying about a dead man. Basically stealing from a dead man,
Yeah.
more or less. And then the climax of the movie is when this woman, like, that's why I would push back and say this is, I think, squarely a dark comedy just because of the themes. The way that they were presented, to your point, is very lighthearted, and it's a feel-good movie, but it's about death.
And I would say they handled his death so eloquently and so beautifully. You know, Jackie walks in on Ned's body and sees him in this state and sees the joy and the jubilance on his face at the realization that he's won the lotto. Goes home and has this beautiful dream of him and Ned in the boat. And Ned says to Jackie, "There would have been a mighty party, Jackie." And, you know, offers him the chicken dinner. And it's this beautiful scene. And it really paints Ned's character, because presumably the reason that Jackie is having this dream, this premonition, this vision, is because he knew Ned so well that he would have known what Ned wanted in this context.
Yeah, and it also serves to give the viewer permission to root for Jackie's plan.
Yeah. And then, conversely, at the end, when they're in the funeral scene, even though they are all under the pretense, because if they're not burying Michael, they're burying Ned. And if they're burying Ned, they're burying their money and going to prison.
Which is a very pirate thing of them to do.
Yes.
Burying your money and going to prison. Very pirate.
Yes. Mad respect. But that again goes towards what I was saying before. It's what Ned would have wanted. If Ned couldn't have the money, he would have wanted it to go to the people of Tullymore.
Yeah, I think they make the argument sufficiently that he would. And and that gives you permission to, like, root for them to commit fraud. Another thing I have on my list is you could survey everybody in the cataloged universe. Go through everybody, have them stripped down naked, looking at pictures of everybody. You could not handpick a better body for that motorcycle scene
No.
than that man.
It was phenomenal.
His chest is just like, you know,
It is caving in. Like that.
His nipples are down to his hips. He's got hipples.
How does that guy not make a living just going and visiting medical schools so they could point out human anatomy?
Yeah.
Because you can just see right through him.
Oh, yeah. He's like paper.
This is what a spleen looks like.
The man's made of rice paper. Get him wet and he'll dissolve.
That was beautiful casting. I'm going to give mad props to the casting of this movie, but Ned Kelly in particular.
David Kelly.
David Kelly in particular was just absolutely killer.
He's also just a great actor.
He is. That's true. And then one thing that I did really like about this movie is that I feel like oftentimes these are hard to find. It's a very low stakes movie. Even the first time I'm watching it, I'm not invested emotionally in a way that would sort of like, this sounds terrible, but like force me to feel a lot of big emotions.
Right.
Right? Like it is a very low stakes movie. Honestly, like, the first time, you know, you have to pay attention so you know what's going on. But, like, having seen it once, I would feel perfectly comfortable turning on this movie and having it on in the background while I did the dishes.
Oh, I've done it so many times.
It is a very good movie for that kind of thing. You don't, like, casually put on Schindler's List in the background.
No. And that's what
Waking Ned Devine, absolutely.
Isn't an indictment of the movie, though. It's just...
No, and I think that's, like... I think people do confuse that. They're like, oh, there's no emotional investment, you don't care, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, it is one of those movies that, like, it doesn't cause you any stress or anxiety because there's really nothing that big at stake. And even the whole, like, we'll go to prison kind of thing is sort of glossed over in a way that doesn't make you feel any stress. And I like, you know, we watch movies to sort of put ourselves in people's shoes and to feel that stress and anxiety of, you know, Alan Grant facing down a tyrannosaur. Like, it'd be fucking terrifying and you feel scared for him. And that's good. And we like that about movies. But we also sometimes like movies because we like things to just happen in front of us while we can have sort of like low investment distractions.
Yeah.
And this movie fits that bill really, really well. It's the same reason why people watch The Office for the 19th time, right?
It's familiar, it's safe,
Yeah.
you're not missing anything. And like I said before, I've seen this movie so many times. And, you know, when I want to watch a feel-good movie and I don't want to feel the anxiety of watching a movie that I haven't seen, I'll turn this one on because I've seen it so many times. I know the beats, I know the lines. I can turn this on, connect my headphones to my TV and go throughout my house, do laundry, do dishes, you know, take care of, you know, whatever I need to do. And I can still enjoy it and see it in my head because I've seen seen it enough times.
Right. And some movies and shows are like that because you've seen them a lot, and some are like that because that's the way they are.
And this is one of those.
This is the latter. Like, I have seen this movie exactly one time, and I would feel comfortable doing that. You know, watching it, they're having it on the background. That is not necessarily the case with everything. Sometimes it's just a function of familiarity. And so all of the risk has been sort of washed out. But this one, right off the bat, Ned Devine, if you want to feel good, low investment comedy to just happen in front of you, it's a good way to go.
Quotable, quirky.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a gem.
It's fun. It's wholesome.
So we're gushing about it. Is there anything else that we really like that we want to throw out there? I think this next section is going to be rather short.
You know me. I'm a sucker for cinematography. I really liked that the cinematography in this movie was as simple as the premise.
It was very subdued.
Yeah, you know, classic shots, but creative nonetheless. You know, you got a couple of the really wide shots that Mark was talking about before. Mm-hmm. Those scenes really punch above their weight because of the camera angle. You see a couple of shots of the beautiful landscapes in Tullymore, which presumably is Northern Ireland.
So like the Isle of Man.
Isle of Man. That's...
Isle of Man was the reason you saw that was in a production of Isle of Man. But no, I think that's in the Republic.
Okay.
I don't know if Tullymore is a real village, but their accents would suggest.
But nevertheless, it is a remote part of Ireland. The county has one village, and this village has 52 people. But it's absolutely gorgeous. So you get to see some really creative shots of the countryside.
I'm sorry, 51 people.
50 people if you're talking after Lizzie.
Yes.
49 if you don't count kids.
Yes.
That's true.
And who does?
Yeah.
So I'm sorry.
And if the priest left before the other priest got back, 48.
Yeah. So between 48 and 49 mature, healthy adults.
I'm sorry.
And then the pigs, which each count as a 16th of a person.
Right. And I believe there were 8 pigs. So that's between 48 and 49 and a half mature, healthy adults.
Yep. And we're talking metric here.
Yes. It is.
So imperial, it would be between
something random.
50 and 97 mature, healthy adults.
Yeah. 7. What the fuck was I saying?
I'm so sorry.
Cinematography. Hemoglobin. So you see some really creative shots, but most of the movie is filmed in close-ups. You see a lot of in-person close-ups. There's one scene that I really enjoy after Jackie and Michael pull off their little shenanigans with Jim Kelly and fool the lotto man. Annie is pissed. Annie is just righteous anger. Mm-hmm. And the next scene, you just see Jackie in bed talking to somebody. And the camera just slowly shifts over to reveal Michael. Because Jackie's not allowed in his house.
Yep.
And it's so great. It's beautiful. It's a classic shot. You've seen it so many times in different movies, particularly rom-coms, of which this movie is not. However, that brings me to another point. There is a running subplot through this movie of the love story of Pig Finn and Maggie O'Toole.
Mm-hmm. Endearing.
And this movie is a comedy. And there is romance. Does that make it a romantic comedy?
Could it be a rom-com within a high-concept comedy?
My argument is no. But I just wanted to say that to, tease Mark.
It's a rom-com.
I'll make a concession that it is a rom-com nestled safely within a quirky comedy.
That's very meta.
One
might say that's a very high concept.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Russian doll, if you will.
A Matryoshka comedy.
What?
Okay, so what did we not like about this?
I kind of was here for all of it. I can't think of anything that I didn't like.
You shit all over Stardust.
Yeah.
And you can't find one thing you didn't like.
Well, some things in this world, Colin, are easy, and some things in this world are not. I couldn't find anything I didn't like about this movie. Maybe if I were presented with a different movie, featuring was it David Kelly or was it
David Kelly? Yeah.
Maybe I would find some things to say, but more on that later.
I will say the pacing, a little off. No, pacing's not perfect. This is one of those examples of movies where I think we've talked about this where, this was not my favorite movie I've ever watched, but I would say on any category I might rate it on, it's over a 5.
Yeah.
It's better than it is not. And so it is definitely one of those that I can't really knock it for anything other than maybe the pacing, but it is just a decent, good movie.
I cannot think. I've been dreading this question ever since we started recording because I knew that we were going to get to it, and I cannot find anything objectionable about this movie. I cannot name a single thing that I don't like.
Well, there you go.
Like,
Mark.
I genuinely adore this movie for so many reasons.
Okay, so are we lower down?
I believe we are lower down.
I think so.
Are we ready to move on to quotes?
I think so. I know we kind of sprinkled some of them in there, and one of my quotes we almost discussed verbatim, but I'll still kind of throw it back out there. This takes place in the beginning where Jackie is sitting in front of the TV talking about the lotto, and he's trying to get Annie to bring his apple tart in, and she's just, no, you can come in here, you can get it yourself. And so he does the whole I won the lottery bit. That was my quote. And he says, we've won, and then, he just kind of really quickly, nope, but I did get my apple tart, didn't I? She just slaps him in the face. So funny.
Cheeky bastard.
And then my second quote, this is, I guess we're kind of bookending. This is towards the end of it. I forget exactly who the quote was, but they're referring to, oh crap, what was her name again? The witch.
Lizzie.
They're talking about Lizzie and how they kind of suspect that she might end up, backstabbing them. And just the comment was made, if the village finds out, she'll burn. Just
that was Michael that said that.
Yeah, she wouldn't dare. She wouldn't dare. Oh my God, it's so good. So what else we got?
So I've already given you if it weren't for the pigs. We should have put on a trigger warning for this movie. Just expect to hear a whole bunch of really bad Irish accents, and Irish in the sense that we're aiming for the accents that were in the movie, not to say that the accents in Ireland are homogenous. Okay, I got one where Annie is talking to Jackie right after he sort of hatches the plan to go and collect the ticket and collect the winnings, and is explaining that Ned died, and she goes, "Oh, they say money changes a man, Jackie, and there's no greater change than from life to death."
Amen.
Which is true,
Yeah,
that
that's
old
pretty much the gist of it.
Money changes you, and it's yeah, well, he died. That's a change.
Yep.
I would catalog that as a change.
That's a metaphysical change.
And then this is Morris, the little kid, is talking to this priest who's in the village. He's subbing in for the priest who's normally there. And
Father Mulligan.
Father Mulligan, one might say. And so they've sort of struck up a relationship, and the kid talks to this young priest a whole bunch, and he's asking all these questions, so the priest is well, maybe he's interested in, sort of becoming a member of the cloth. And he goes, "Do you think you could be drawn to the church, Morris?" And Morris says, "Oh, I don't think so, Father. I don't think I could work for somebody who I never met, and for no money."
Story of my life.
Because the kid's 10?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also it's comical because it frames being a clergy member as working for God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You collect a paycheck and a 401k and you get health benefits.
God signs your check and tells you to come in on Sunday.
Right. Yep. I don't think I could work for somebody who I never met and for no money.
Every week.
My punch card. Who's going to punch that?
Yeah. So I already gave you one of mine, and I've got two more. So this one comes after Annie spent the entire night talking to Mrs. Kennedy because she thinks that Mrs. Kennedy has won the lottery. And Jackie and Michael spent the entire night buying pints and Mexican crisps for Pig Finn. So they both done a heavy amount of drinking. And Annie walks into the kitchen to see Jackie poring over a ledger and Michael stacking chickens on the kitchen counter. And she says, "I'd have thought you'd be the ones with the sore heads, not me." And Jackie responds, "Aye, we do have heads and they are sore, but they're also filled with the very best of Irish brains." And my last quote, Michael and Jackie walk into Ned's house after Jackie discovers Ned's body. And when Jackie discovers Ned's body, he drops the chicken dinner that he's brought for him. So Michael and Jackie walk in to try and take stock and figure out what comes next. And Michael is freaking out because he touches the bed and there's
Sticky spot.
a sticky, wet spot.
Juicy bread.
And he goes,
"Juicy bed."
"Dear God, the man's melting. Jackie, get in here!" And Jackie comes running into the room, slips on the chicken dinner on the floor, and Michael says, "Oh God, you've slipped on his intestines," because it's not intestines, it's a chicken dinner. A chicken dinner, Jackie. well, I would have sworn it was his intestines. And he says, well, I've never smelt intestines on me jacket before, but surely it can't be as bad as any Brussels sprouts.
That is a sick burn.
It is like the way that Michael says intestines.
Intestines.
It does have a churchiness about it. Okay, are we done with quotes?
I think we might be
I
able
believe
to rate
we are.
this.
We're ready to rate?
Yeah!
Rate?
Who's going first?
I'll take this one.
All right.
Because I actually have a metric ready.
Ooh! I have 3, so
I've got one and a backup.
Oh, jeez. Mark is looking at me with intensity and fervor. I will give this movie a 6.3 intestines.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Was that one of them?
It wasn't on my list.
It was one of mine.
Okay.
Kind of. I had a variation of intestines, but...
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going 7.8.
Goodness.
I really enjoyed it.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
I don't know if it pops up to an 8 solid, but high 7s.
So, like, basically, it's similar to your opinion about Stardust.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't think that's what my rating was. For
Are you sure? I think it was that.
Roll the tape. But again, more on that later. 7.8 pigs.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, if it
weren't for the pigs.
If it weren't for the pigs.
All right, so I, similarly to Mark, am going to rate this about 7.3
Okay.
because I genuinely do love this movie. 7.3 flying phone booths.
Ooh.
Oh, that's a good one. That didn't even enter my head, but it entered Lizzie's head.
Yes.
That was dark.
It was the last thing.
But it's a dark comedy, right?
It also exited Lizzie's head. Great for far.
Just about everything exited Lizzie's head.
It's okay. She was a bitch.
Yep.
Yeah, especially the Irish brains. Sorry,
She
we gotta
was
stop. We gotta stop.
Hey, it's a dark comedy.
Yeah.
Listen, if they don't get it, it's just because they're not high enough to get the
Yeah,
concept.
it's not a high concept. Yeah.
All right. So that's probably all of the ratings we have.
Oh,
I
that's
think.
it. We don't have any
Yeah.
more.
No, that's we don't have anything else.
Wait, hang on. Let me check.
That's him checking.
Oh.
I think we might have another.
Ooh.
What is it? Oh, could it be a scene score?
Scene score.
We're taking that on the road.
Yes.
Can we wear kilts? Is that cultural appropriation?
No.
I'm Scottish.
So he can wear a kilt.
I was in his wedding. I wore one too. I was appropriated.
I have an overkilt.
What's that mean?
It's like a kilt, but overalls.
Like it's overdone? Like it's overkilt?
No.
No.
So the kilt.
That's okay, Overkilt is a band. And
Yes!
it's Overkilt. And if I ever start a band, so help me, that will be its name.
It's also a thing. You can buy them for about $129. It's overalls. So they start at your shoulders, but rather than pants, it's a kilt.
Sounds a little overdone, but
They're amazing.
overkill.
And they're tactical. They have pockets.
I know there is a company called Utilikilt,
Yes.
which makes
I want one to go with my overkilt.
you should just get like a normal kilt.
I should get that too, but I want all 3 of them.
I want options.
I want to be able to accessorize, damn it.
Yeah, whether you're putting on a roof or piping a funeral,
Just don't look up.
you gotta dress to impress.
Yeah.
Standing over an air conditioner.
Yeah.
Pretty
like
solid.
Marilyn Monroe in The 7-Year Itch.
I am not going to say that has never happened to me, but I'm also not going to not say that.
Yeah.
So, and I wear a traditional kilt.
Not a skirt.
In the traditional sense.
In the biblical sense, I wear a traditional kilt. I wear a smile.
Yep.
Scene score. Anyway,
A smile, a linen shirt, a kilt, and what God graced him upon his birth.
and a blue ribbon. There's a little song reference there for you. Grace, see if you can find what song I might be referencing.
Oh, she's
And
gonna
it's not
kill me.
Amazing Grace.
She's gonna kill me.
Hey, better you than me.
Yeah, fair.
Okay, we're gonna do scene score.
Scene score.
Scene score.
Scenes. Oh, techno remix.
Wow, that was a lot of energy
Yeah.
we just sort of pumped in there. I like that. Just kind of beef it up. We had 9 respondents to our familiarity survey this week. Pretty good. Thank you to everybody who responded. If you didn't respond, you're dead to me and never listen to this podcast again. I'm joking. Respond next time, please. You can get on our mailing list if you email us at 3, that is the number 3, meninabasement @gmail.com. You can also sign up for the mailing list through our website, tmaab.podbean.com. They're short weekly surveys and just give you a little sneak peek of what's coming up in our list and ask you how familiar you are with that film. Our average familiarity score on a scale from 0 to 10 was 3.3.
Wow, that's actually higher than I expected.
That's higher than I expected as well.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about this before, but like, you know, we got a bit of a bias sample.
Yeah.
Right? I think Gen Pop, this would be much lower.
Yeah.
Right.
I gave it a 6.3, Mark gave it a 7.8, Jackson gave it a 7.3, so our average score was a 7.1. Yeah.
Respectable. I can live with it.
That is a respectable score. With that high familiarity score, still below 0.5, we get a punch up, but not by much. 7.7 is our ultimate score, which it seems like Mark might be happy with.
That's quite close to my 7.8.
Yeah.
So
7.7, I would agree with that. I would say 7.7, especially with like a healthy lens of this is a nice, feel-good movie, and if that's the kind of thing that you are looking for in your life, I would prioritize this movie a 7.7.
There's just genuinely nothing objectionable about this movie.
Mm-hmm. This movie should be higher rated in terms of, you know, more people should see it.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. All right. Is that all for the Elk Rep review? Are we learned?
I believe it is.
Okay. Well,
we just gonna
what? There's a sound.
We just got an email. We just got an email. We just got an email.
What is happening?
We just got an email.
It's getting louder.
We just got an email.
Okay, so did you catch that?
It's better than Jackson like orgasming the Blues Clues email song.
We just got an email.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
It's a little squeak at the end. It's like
It's good though. It's a different flavor.
it's like you're in there. Oh, you hit my prostate. Woo!
Back it up. Back it up.
Email.
Back it up. You're not getting a tip.
All right.
That's all we got, buddy.
So this email comes from our dear friend and arguably, actually, I would say inarguably, our number one fan.
Perhaps more emails than anyone else.
Yeah.
Work on it.
Yeah, come on, guys.
So,
what are you doing?
from our dear friend Grace
Lafferty.
Grace
Lafferty.
FERT for short.
Yeah. The title of this email, Of Burp Envelopes and Stardust.
Here we go.
Salutations, boys. It's me again. I'd like to start this letter off by once again telling Jackson to screw off.
That's an appropriate thing.
Yeah.
That's what we
All right.
need.
I'm on board with
I
all
agree.
of this.
Go ahead, Grace. Yeah.
End
Good
of the
on you.
email.
She follows by saying, I already did the last time I saw him, but I think it bears repeating. It does, and thank you.
She's throwing repeated bears at you.
Yes.
Wow.
Baby bear?
Is that where those scratches came from?
Regrettably. Yeah.
That
you
was a
are.
panda.
You guys can't see him, but he is hideous.
It's
He's
true.
basically a pile of goo.
Yeah.
He basically looks like Lizzie does inside that telephone box.
Yeah, I am what happens after a Goopadoop.
Oh God.
Goodness.
Jesus. Yeah. You don't want the goopadoop.
So, she would like to tell me to screw off for calling me out at the end of episode 41. That said, I did not back down from this challenge. After going way too far back in the catalog, I found the origin of the burp envelope.
Oh shit.
I respect
We threw down the gauntlet.
Yeah.
And she picked it up, and I feel like she's about to slap us with it.
Yep. Episode 13, 15 minutes and 20 seconds in. Never underestimate hyperfixation, boys. I was determined to accomplish this task.
Oof.
I respect it.
That's,
yes.
Yeah.
Mad respect to Grace. On to more important matters. After listening to the Stardust episode, I knew two things. That somehow you guys talked about Neil Gaiman without mentioning Coraline, and I had to check out this movie. And it takes some convincing to get me to watch a film I haven't already seen. I blame my autism for that. Anyway, I knew for certain that I was going to like this movie. I'm a big fantasy nerd and grew up on fairy tales. Happy to report that I loved this film so much. It was a wholesome and heartwarming story that I will definitely be recommending to friends.
That's true. That's accurate.
Yeah.
It is all of those things.
Yeah.
And everybody enjoys it.
I think unilaterally, everybody is pleased with this movie.
I don't think there's anybody who didn't like
I mean,
it.
probably not. Probably not. Probably not.
Which brings me to my next point, Mark.
Probably not.
The adjectives you used to describe your thoughts on this film were, and I quote, thin and empty. Oof.
Oof.
That is what I said.
I'm sorry, Mark.
We should read that part together. Oof.
Oof.
Oof. Oh yeah, one more time.
All right.
1, 2, 3. Oof. I think we captured Grace's like, sort of intensity.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Mark, but I have to ask. Do you feel joy when you watch the news? Gentlemen, I submit to you my theory that Mark's soul and sense of whimsy have been beaten down by the cold reality of life.
Yeah, some of us don't need a scaffolding to smile. Okay?
Mark is covered in bear malls right now.
Yeah. Joking aside, Mark, you are completely entitled to your own opinion, but I don't think you're ever going to hear the end of this one. Best of luck. She goes on to say, glad you three
She wrote a novel.
yeah. Glad you three were amused by my previous suggestions. Admittedly, I picked those because they're terrible, and I thought it would be funny if you did them. But today, I actually have a serious suggestion for you.
Hang on. Was she talking about an ex-girlfriend of mine? They're terrible. I thought it'd be funny if you did them.
It's possible.
Is that-
Yeah, she might be referring to your exes.
Because it was funny
Yeah.
when you did them.
Yeah. Don't sue us, Seth MacFarlane. I let that one slip out.
But if you want me to submit it through the Google form, then I will. In the last Starfighter episode, you mentioned you'd never heard of the movie Victor Victoria, which I honestly think is a crime. If you liked...
It is in the District of Columbia.
It's true.
Yeah.
If you liked Robert Preston as the Centaur in Starfighter...
Since Centauri.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you're going to like him in this. It's a great film with an incredible performance by Julie Andrews. Definitely worth checking out. And if you don't agree with me, I promise you I'll find a way into that basement. I don't care about your format.
Do you have locks?
I'm gonna get them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy some.
We need locks now.
Yep.
We need
Bear-proof locks.
get the
clearly.
locks.
Yes.
Then change the locks just in case.
Yep.
Happy holidays, and I hope this email brought you some laughs. Sincerely, Grace.
It did bring me some laughs.
That was less graceful
You know.
Yeah.
than, except for the Stardust part, which was spot on.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, the Stardust
No.
part was factually accurate
Yeah,
from top to bottom.
that was like peer reviewed and
Yeah.
I'm gonna get. That was a little bit off topic here, but I'm gonna get some tattoos. Okay, and they're gonna
Okay.
go right across my knuckles.
Uh-huh.
And they're gonna say thin and empty.
All right.
And
So
I'm gonna
your knuckles are thin and empty.
I think he's gonna have to like maybe take out the M.
That's not what I said.
Empty
That's not what I meant.
because it's like it's gonna be empty.
You don't know
Well,
how
the
many
thing
knuckles
is,
I have.
Thin is 4 letters. So you just take the E and put it on the thumb,
Thanks.
and, you know.
I could do that. Also, don't share with people how many knuckles I have. That's private.
That's true. I mean, he doesn't have any pinkies.
I'm also sensitive about that.
I mean,
I
yeah.
forgot about that incident with the bears.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank God he's still got 10 fingers, but just doesn't have any pinkies.
Yeah, 10 fingers and some number of knuckles.
Yes.
Okay,
10 adjacent.
are you more or less likely to have a non-uniform number of knuckles if you have a Morton's toe?
Ooh, that's a good question, actually.
Or does a Morton toe itself, because you got the sub-knuckles, you know?
Yeah, does a Morton's toe have an extra knuckle?
Oh my god, that's a band name. Subknuckle.
Sub-knuckle.
Why do I feel like that's like a trash band? Like, just
Oh, yeah.
absolute garage. Yeah.
You
Knuckle
can't-
thumping.
Garage Mahal. Which,
What was it? What was your other one? Was fucking like thumbing the aorta? Sub-knuckle tours with thumbing the aorta.
Yes.
You know that for a fact.
Yes.
Okay, we also got one other message, not strictly speaking through the typical channels, not through an email or these fancy computing machines.
Came through a tube?
It came through a tube of sorts.
was it
Whose tube?
was it your tube?
Wasn't my tube.
Okay, listen, messages may or may not have been passed through my tubes at some point. But that was a long time ago. The war is over.
Don't talk about it.
And a little bit of preparation, H, and it all goes away.
Yeah.
This comment was made on the Tube of Views, and it was made by a cartoon fellow, let's say.
Yeah.
A Fred Flintstone, if you will. Fred, we're giving you a shout out because we read your comment and we want to know that your voice is heard, and we're going to flatly ignore you while reading your comment. This was in regard to Murder by Death, the episode Murder by Death. I can't believe you didn't connect the detectives to the actual literary characters. Charlie Chan, Miss Marple, Hercule Poirot, Sam Spade, Nick and Nora from the Thin Man Mysteries. Kinda important. But you guys were hilarious, so not all was lost. Thanks for sharing. The last part of that was correct.
Yes, absolutely.
The last part was
100%.
spot on.
I loved the part where he told us that we were hilarious.
Yes, I like that part too.
Yeah.
We should concentrate on that part.
Do not ever correct us. Ever.
You come into Mark's house.
Flintstone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fred. Don't you ever. Don't you ever come into my house. It's not my house. It's Khan's house. Don't you ever come into this basement without Khan's permission. Don't you ever do
Unless
that.
Grace has already broken in.
Unless Grace has already sent
we're,
the bears.
we're all in trouble, guys. Fred, you're not going to make it if Grace is in here, so just stay away. No, I did want to read that comment because
Fred brought up an excellent point.
Yeah, I mean, it's important, and there are actual, like, when we looked into it, we suspected there were, like, actual specific literary inspirations beyond simply, and we mentioned a few of them, we mentioned Poirot, and, beyond just, like, the generalized caricatures that were, these 5 detectives. We did suspect, but we intentionally do not look or delve into the lore of a movie unless we already sort of know it just by happenstance.
Well, because then it wouldn't be the ultra-crepidarians.
Because we are the ultra-crepidarians, right? Like, we are just regular fuckheads who don't know what the fuck we're talking about. We rely on YouTube comments to tell us what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We regurgitate, like, the front page of IMDb, and that's as deep as we go.
Yeah. And so we appreciate fans like you, Fred Flintstone, who are continuously educating us on the ways that we can better ourselves. And we won't. But we appreciate that you tell us.
It makes us feel good that you're trying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Effort is being made on our behalf.
Good on you.
And it is our right as Americans to completely ignore that and remain in ignorant sludge.
America!
You could say we're known for this.
Oh,
but I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that because I'm a proud
to be an American?
American.
Rock, flag, and eagle. Is it time for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Ooh, yes.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yep.
We're going to go to McDonald's, and then we'll be right back.
That's
after
the pledge.
These messages.
That's the pledge, right? Of allegiance.
I-
We're
I
on our way to McDonald's.
I pledge allegiance to Ronald McDonald and the capitalist states of America.
Of the McNuggets of America.
Okay. Are we learning with all that?
Yep.
Y'all.
I think we need to talk about our upcoming tour.
Yes.
You know who we got on this tour?
Who we got?
It is a who's who of not so great bands.
Yeah.
Headliner's Chicken Party.
Chicken Party.
I'm stoked about Chicken Party.
And when I say who's who, I mean who's that?
Yeah. Nobody's ever heard of Chicken Party.
Dude,
Do you have to cross the road to get to this Chicken Party?
Usually,
and
yeah.
imagine the breasts that you would see at Chicken Party.
Oh no, I will say.
Right?
I've been
Right?
to a few Chicken Party shows and it's just
The breasts.
breasts everywhere.
Chicken breast.
And
Right?
thighs, too. Whoa.
Ooh, think of them drumsticks at that show. Some good drumsticks.
These are parts of chicken.
Yes.
Being a little beaky, I'm sorry.
We're just clucking about it.
Yeah, giving me a wishbone over here.
It's a good band. That's all we're trying to say. It's a good band.
Jackson's trying not to laugh, right? He's trying so hard. Speaking of Wishbone, Subknuckle is also on that stage. And then on ancillary stages, we've got Coffin Wrist
Yes.
and Overkilt. Overkilt is the only one actually worth seeing. The others, you'll get some disease.
It's true.
Which, I mean, hey, to each their own. I mean, Grace may go collect a sample of one of those diseases and release it into the basement if we don't.
Well, she'll infect the bears and then...
Oh my god, she's gonna infect the bears.
Yeah.
Not the bears.
Didn't even think about that.
Grace is going
Not the
full
bears.
Resident Evil on us.
Oh god.
Gross.
That is very Grace, though.
Yeah.
That's
It's
classic
something
Grace.
she would do.
Or she's gonna call Mike Tyson and have him hunt us down with his fistful of Morton's toes.
Yeah.
Knuckle thumpers.
And what was the first reference to that?
That would be episode 13, 15 minutes and 20 seconds.
No, that was Burp Envelope.
Oh, that was Burp Envelope. You're right. So what is the first reference of the Morton's toe?
Well, thank God we've got Grace, because
Yeah.
she will find it. Nobody else will find it.
It's true.
Not Fred Flintstone.
No.
And certainly not Alex.
Nope.
Ooh, but the gauntlet's been thrown here.
Yeah.
If you can find the specific point that we make that reference is, we will berate you live on the show.
It's true. And we will crown you our number one fan if you can do that, Grace.
The title is up for grabs, everybody.
Oh, not good.
And
not
Alex.
Good. Not good. We're good. Bears. Just, guys, Bears.
Bears beats Battlestar Galactica.
All right. With our tour well highlighted, that is all for the All Crep Review. Thank you for listening. If you have any ideas for movie reviews, you can fill out our movie review form located on our website, tmaab.podbean.com.
And if you're looking for tickets to our tour, you can just send us cash.
Yes, you can send us cash anytime you want. We have no restrictions on sending us cash.
Nope.
No bloodstains.
Yeah,
That's
please-
our one
please no.
restriction. We've received too much of that, and people are asking questions.
Starting to smell.
It is the smelliest of money.
Yeah.
It's blood money. You can
Followed
also
right by like sweaty titty money.
yeah.
Yeah. Blood money, then sweaty boob money.
I was about to tell a story about the people, but one woman in particular who was about 65 and had tiggle bitties and used to pay at the movie theater. Like, she used to reach under her boob. I guess I'm telling the story. She used to reach under her boob and pull it out. Okay, I don't know if this was just my brain filling in gaps, but, like, I swear to God I saw it drip once.
I like that.
And she used to hand it to me. What do you do with that?
Nothing.
Other than burn it?
Nothing.
You can also email us. 3, that is the number 3, meninaBasement@gmail.com. No sweaty boob money. No blood money. And you can also find us wherever you get your podcasts, iTunes, Google Podcasts. If there's a town crier who retells podcasts in 19th century style,
Hear ye, hear ye.
please have at it. And until then, I am Colin McLeod,
Mark up.
Action Jackson.
and we'll see you in cyberspace.
Resner.